Today I messed up by making chili and having an itch. I've been trying to expand my culinary horizons and am thinking about enrolling in culinary school to follow a passion instead of my daily slog. I picked out some recipes and decided to try and kick up chili a little bit, adding some extra chilies and habaneros. I finished my prep during my lunch break and cleaned up. Fast forward about 2 hours, my boy Bits had began to itch a little, and without thinking I reached in to itch the little guy and suddenly the fires of hell were unleashed upon an extra sausage today. As the heat rises I scramble to think of ways to soothe my flaming frankfurter. First thought was, milk helps, right? So I wrapped in a cloth soaked in what I was hoping to be delightful dairy relief but instead only delayed the burn until the air touched it again. As I unwrap the milk the sides are now a deep shade of purple that started to have me concerned. In a clutch I call out to my Google Home in search of some great wisdom on how to relieve the burn. MarthaStewart.com says, acids like lemon juice or vinegar may help provide relief from the burn of capsaicin. To which I respond, good looking out, Martha. My wife anxiously laughing at the situation gets me a bottle of vinegar and I proceed to wrap my willy in a new rag of vinegar which provides relief of about 50%. All within about 10 minutes, the color has returned to normal but the pain is still at about a 30%. Today I messed up by downloading a porn game. Looks brothers, it's October 31st, we all know what's around the corner, and with a start to the story like that, I'm sure you all know what's coming. Now I don't typically participate in the festivities of November, but tomorrow is the day I get a promotion at work and while I've never been caught before in the past, I'm sure it wouldn't have affected me as much had it not been the person who is quite literally handing down the stick to me so to speak. I don't know what to do right now. I downloaded a game off Steam, just to spice things up a bit but I didn't want to spend any money so I got the first free thing I could find. The name in itself is telling enough, but I didn't even bother looking through the store page just to keep the content fresh. Well, after watching it download for 5 minutes, and making sure my roommate would be gone for the next 2 hours at least, I got all the necessary materials ready but a notification on my second monitor screen distracted me. I didn't even hear my unlocked door open, just the slam of it hitting the wall which caused me to flinch, losing the cursor in the horde of tabs I had regarding my work. Perhaps I could have closed Steam in time, I was just hovering over the play button a second ago, but I pressed the window button instead of the exit button. The tab was still quite clearly visible and while there was no graphic content on the screen, the name and logo were more than enough, written in almost bold lettering at the top of my screen. At that moment, I knew I was caught. I'm sure my buddy is telling all our peers as I type this, and given he's the one handing me the stick tomorrow I can't say I'm not mighty embarrassed at the moment. Today I messed up by sending my class the wrong link. Oh boy, where do I, M56, even start? Today was probably the most embarrassing day of my entire teaching career, and I've had some doozies. For context, I am a university professor, and like many in my profession, I have adapted to the increased use of technology in education, especially email communication with students. Today's mess-up started off innocently enough. I was sending out an email to my class with some supplementary materials for our next lecture. I wanted to include a link to a YouTube video that I thought would provide some additional insight into the topic we were discussing. However, in my haste and lack of attention, I ended up copying and pasting the wrong link. Instead of an educational video, I accidentally sent a link to a K-pop dance. Now, this wouldn't have been so bad if it was just a regular dance video. But no, it was one of those overly sexy dance covers performed by a girl in quite revealing clothing. I didn't realize my mistake until a student replied to the email, asking, "Professor, is this the right video? It doesn't seem very related to the lecture topic." Confused, I clicked on the link I had sent and felt my face turn beet red as I watched the dancer move in ways that were definitely not related to our academic studies. Panicking, I quickly sent out a follow-up email, apologizing for the mistake and providing the correct link. I assured the students that it was a mix-up and to please disregard the previous email. But the damage was done. The students had seen the video, and soon my inbox was filled with a mix of amused and confused messages. Word spread like wildfire, and by the end of the day, even my colleagues were giving me smirking glances and teasing comments. Now I'm not only known as the professor in my field, but also as the professor who sent a K-pop dance to an entire class. I'm mortified, and I can't help but feel like I've lost some respect in the eyes of my students and peers. So yeah, any way I can explain this away? Maybe say it was a virus? Today I messed up by getting COVID twice. A little bit of a backstory, I work in a factory and we are really short on people. To the point where if even one person is missing, the entire line suffers because someone has to make up the extra work, which then means someone needs to make up their extra work, and so on. Regardless, if anyone calls in, people get upset. A couple weeks ago, I taught COVID and work policy as you have to be out at least a week. I came back, and I knew people were going to be mad, so I apologized to almost everyone for being gone a whole week. Most people were cool, saying things like hey at least you're back now or nothing you can do about it. That is, until I caught COVID again a week after that. That day, I told people that I wasn't feeling well, bad headache and coughing. Most people gave me that look. That really? Look. I told them I'd go home and take an at-home test. Some people suggested to me not to test, because if it comes back positive, it'll be out for a week again. By the time I got home, I had a fever and really bad headache, so I tested myself, and it was positive. I messaged my boss that I was positive again, no response. I messaged the line supervisor, no response. Messaged HR, no response. Eventually I called HR to make sure they got my message and they said yes, come back in a week. Today was the day I came back to work. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will even look at me. Not my boss, supervisor, or people I thought were my work buddies. They won't talk to me unless it's absolutely necessary. This really sucks being the outcast. Today I messed up by not having coffee for several months, then having 6 espresso shots in less than an hour. I woke up and I was craving a coffee. Little backstory: I used to work as barista and I got really over coffee. But I still have a barista setup at home. So I went to go make a coffee and I realized my entire barista setup needed a clean, so I cleaned it. After my initial wipe down of everything, I made a coffee 2 shots as standard. But something didn't taste quite right, so I decided to do a deep clean of my machines, both grinder and espresso machine. After all said, I decided to make another cup, which I tried using a method I saw on TikTok where you put a layer of raw sugar on top of the puck before extracting. And boy, it tasted lovely. So naturally, I came to the conclusion I needed to try it with my high-end beans. And the results were even better. At no point in my mind that it occurred to me that having 6 shots of espresso in such a short period of time when you haven't had it in over 6 months, would be a bad idea. So ultimately, I ended up spending the entire day jittery and feeling like everything was going so much slower. And now I am laying in bed, feeling tired, but unable to sleep because of it.